Good afternoon, everybody. Doug McGowan with Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. This afternoon, we're coming to you from the town of Collierville, near the intersection of Houston Levee and Wolf River Boulevard. This is an area that was impacted by storms overnight. You'll recall that last Sunday we were hit with a very large storm that knocked out power to 122,000 of our customers. Yesterday afternoon, we had that number down to about 500 remaining to restore. Late in the afternoon, we were hit with another pop-up thunderstorm that drove 60-mile-an-hour winds and bumped outages up to 16,000. Overnight, another thunderstorm that had another supercell thunderstorm that produced 60-plus mile-an-hour winds hit this area of town, causing outages to peak at 35,000. So where we are right now is we have restored 23,000 of those customers, and we have about 12,000 customers remaining. What you see behind me is what we call a double circuit that runs north-south along Houston Levee. The power is out to 4,000 customers just because of this one outage. You'll see 4 poles and all of the primary circuits laying on the ground. Our team is making very good progress here. We expect to have this repaired by tonight, which will be a huge chunk of the outages. We do have teams working all across the county at this point, trying to restore power to everybody absolutely as quickly as we can. Before I go any further, I do want to say thank you to all of our crews. They have been working every weekend for the last month without a break because of the number of storms. And they're completely dedicated to service to our customers, and they will not stop until we have everybody back on. So a huge debt of gratitude to them. Also a debt of gratitude to all of our partners in the communities around. I'm joined by Mayor Joyner from Collierville today. This is an absolute partnership for our ability to meet the needs of our customers. Mayor Joyner and his team do a great job of keeping their water and wastewater systems operating anytime we have a power outage, do a great job of traffic control when we have traffic signals out, and that's true with our partners in every municipality, Shelby County, the city of Memphis. So I want to give a big shout out to all of the teams that have come to help when our customers need it. The rest of this week is going to be some unstable weather. Many of you in your weather departments will know that the threat of severe thunderstorms in the afternoon is high throughout the week and for the next 7 days. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. Typically, a thunderstorm is not a big concern for us. Our infrastructure is very reliable when winds are less than 40 miles an hour. When you start seeing winds of 45 to 55 miles an hour, that's when you at your home could start seeing some things flying around. You may have a little roof damage. You may see some local damage with some tree limbs snapped off. According to the National Weather Service, when you get 55 to 65 mile an hour winds, that is when they have a severe wind advisory. That's when you can expect to see entire trees uprooted. And you can see damage like you saw here. There were no trees that took this down, but our power lines, the communication lines, and the poles are not immune from the effects of wind. So when you see something like this, it's because there were very high winds in the area that just put enough load on that pole and on those lines to actually pull them over. Last thing I'll say before I turn it over to Mayor Joyner is I do not want people to give up hope that we are going to make our system much more reliable and resilient in the future. We have a significant amount of funding, about $1.2 billion. The majority of that's going into our electrical system, and we're going to do 3 things. Number 1, cut vegetation. That's tree cutting, getting those trees back away from the power lines. I have about $200 million of contracts I'm taking to City Council next week so that we can get that started right away. Number 2 is replacing old infrastructure, poles that are old and weak, wires that are old and haven't been replaced, transformers that are out of date, and new construction standards. That will additionally increase reliability. And then the third thing is what we're calling installing a smart grid. It's distribution automation, a grid that will heal itself whenever there's an outage and reroute power to as many people who can take it as they automatically without our intervention. That allows us to get to the restoration activity much more quickly. As soon as we are out of storm restoration mode, which we have been in for most of the last 6 months, we will begin in earnest making those improvements, and you will see some dramatic improvements in reliability. So with that, I'd like to stop And Mayor Joyner, if you have a few comments you'd like to make.
Thank you, Doug. I'll be brief. I just want to echo some of the things that Chief McGowan has explained to you about the issues here. We thought with some residents that I talked to yesterday that we were just about out of the woods on having power restored to a number of different neighborhoods in this particular area. And I know that when this storm came through, it was kind of a gut punch to so many of them, and such a step back. I cannot believe I came through here this morning about 8:30 to see the damage personally, and I can't believe the progress that has been made in the last 6 hours, 7 hours. Tremendous, and you would have had to have seen it to really appreciate it. We want to thank as well Memphis Light, Gas and Water and all these workers that are out here that are doing such a great job. We all want a reliable utility for certain. We all want reliable electric power and that type thing. It's so important to us all. And I would just say, and it's easy for me to say, and I know it's I don't want to sound flippant or I don't want to sound shallow, but as Doug said a moment ago, don't give up hope, and don't lose your patience. Very, very easy to say, but very hard to do so many times. But this is going to get better. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Doug.
Thank you, Mayor. And before I take questions, I'll emphasize that please do not give up hope. We do have a plan that has proven to work in other communities, and so we're going to implement that plan. And so you'll begin to see that work in earnest later this summer. So, and I have some really great accountability partners and all of our elected officials. They have already told me what their priorities are, and so we're going to make sure that we meet everybody's priorities where they live and make sure that we do the right thing so that our community can continue to grow and prosper. So with that, I'll stop and take questions. So that number was down to around 500 last night, and I know that number's much lower this morning. Since I've come out here, there were some areas in Shelby Forest and some areas in Bartlett that were out since last Sunday, and we thought we were able to turn most of those back on. Our team is back out there today because we know that there may have been some additional damage overnight. We do know that there were some customers that were restored and have subsequently lost power again because of these new storms. So to be clear, we will not stop until those customers who were out last week are back on. And then anybody who was out because of last week and their power is out again, we will make sure that we prioritize you at the same time as we are working on other larger outages like we're seeing here.
And did the thunder, as you were speaking, you were about bracing for another storm.
Sure.
To affect your ability to get the power turned back on? Like, how long should they expect it to be?
So, well, as I say, for this outage, it's about 4,000. We should expect to have this restored tonight. Unless a thunderstorm rolls through, then clearly you see our crews, for their safety, we can't have them up on the booms if there's a thunderstorm in the immediate vicinity. So we're going to hope that the weather blows through and that we don't have any more until later this evening so we can get more work done. That's the only thing that will slow us down is if we have a thunderstorm that blows through, causing us not to be able to be in the air. And we're going to hope that any of these new thunderstorms that roll through don't bring with them any of the severe winds. Yes.
How old are these poles that anything past 40 miles per hour wind cannot move? There are a couple where I live in Cordova that just from last week look like they're about to break.
Sure. So we have a really good inventory. We inventoried all of our poles as a part of our improvement plan. There are poles that are relatively old. We inspect them and then we can give them a new lease on life. We'll treat them again, or we'll extend their lifespan by another 5 to 10 years, depending on the condition inspection. So it's not like we set it and forget it. We actually look at them. Some of them that look like they might be old are actually in very good shape. Others that are relatively new, we may find a defect and have to replace that pole soon. So we have a rigorous, regular, and routine inspection process for our poles. We have a plan that we are going to execute. We're actually ahead of plan to execute all of our pole replacements. So, but they vary in range. They can be 5 years old. They can be 40 years old.
So where are some of those funds, like going to the largest projects? Like, could you list some of the larger projects that the budgeting is going to?
Sure. So for some of the like the distribution automation project that I mentioned, That is more than a $200 million project. There is more than $300 million being put into aging infrastructure and replacement of transformers, power lines, and poles. And then the tree trimming contract, the 5 years, is $220 million. Those are the very largest buckets of funding, but we do have other smaller buckets of funding that go into that resilience planning and execution.
You mentioned that for people who were without power a week ago,
Yes.
you guys are working to restore once again if they lost power.
Yes.
What more advice do you have for them? Because as you can imagine, I'm sure they're frustrated just to hear what we're
Yes. Yeah, no, and we share their frustration. I'll say a couple of things. We have, in those areas that are out, we still have MLGW staff members and their families that are out. So we feel it personally as our friends and neighbors. We all have friends that live in those areas. So we're hoping that neighbors will take care of neighbors, friends will take care of friends. We have not forgotten you, although it might feel like that. We absolutely, positively have not forgotten you. And the advice is hang in there because we are coming. And I'll stand by one second. So I'll finish her question here. So we have not forgotten you, and we will get to you to get that back. It's especially frustrating for folks whose power was restored. They had to throw away some groceries, and now they had to go buy more, and now they're out again. Incredibly frustrating. I understand how difficult that is.
One thing I wanted to ask is, are we just in a restoration part now before we get into that improvement, or are you guys subsequently altering and not just doing
No, we do have that restoration work. This restoration work is underway. Immediately upon having a full restoration, there will be several days of bringing the system back to normal configuration because, as you can imagine, in a storm, there's some temporary things that we do. When everybody's power's back on, we go back and put that back into a normal configuration. And then we roll immediately into that process improvement, the infrastructure improvement, replacing poles, replacing transformers. So it is an iterative process. We would be making more progress along the way if we get out of this storm season here. So, but no, we haven't stopped. We are moving forward with that improvement plan.
Did I have one more question?
Yes.
About the water system and the pump.
Yes.
Did this affect
No.
any of the pump stations?
This did not.
Be a water advisory?
No, there's no water advisory. This did not affect any of our pumping stations whatsoever. That storm, we had 122,000 people out, did affect 2 water pumping stations. And we had generator problems. The generators were working for a while. The generators failed, so we had a redundant system that failed. And then we do have tanks in the northern part of the county that help us boost pressures. But once the tanks are depleted, if we don't have enough pressure to fill the tank, then it's kind of a one-shot deal. But we use that to equalize pressure. There's no danger of that today with this storm. All of our pumping stations are at full capacity, so we do have full water, and for people that take gas, we have a full system of gas as well.
Do we have a timeline of when everything is going to be fully restored? I know last week wasn't necessarily clear. How many weeks?
Right. I'll get a better answer for you a little later today, but with the progress we're making here, I can say if we continue the progress we've had, it should be soon. We had 35,000 customers out when I woke up early this morning, and now we're down to 12,000 in less than 12 hours time. So we hope to get the very vast majority of people restored this evening, but some may last into tomorrow, unfortunately. Any other questions? Mayor, any other thoughts? Okay, thank you for your partnership, Mayor. Thank you for being here. All right, thanks everybody.